Hi, I've been writing out poetry, homeopathic poetry, compiling it to one day release as a book, but I go through these periods where I feel like becoming a monk, and most of what I do becomes lying there in meditation. So, I'm gonna start documenting the poetry. Because I don't really care if it's profited from. But the aim is, as I study nutrition, with the aim of getting my degree in nutrition, and going on to become a homeopath through studies and art. The main aim of studies was more to obtain the title for the book. But the information is what is more important to me, rather than having things accredited to. This is where I go through a two-split divide between ego self and the spiritual self, the monk-like self, two divisions. And I'm constantly battling back and forth between the two, not in a mental health sense, but more in a ideological sense. Anyway, so I'm gonna read my introduction I've written for it. It's good to get it documented. And instead of my person name, which is Leonardo, by the way, Dip Leonardo, Diploma Leonardo, I'll credit to my YouTube, whatever, The Animal Alchemist. So I've called it the Dynamic Poetica. This is what my poems will be compiled in. The Dynamic Poetica. The Poetica of the Materia Medica. And that is my copyright. So, let us begin. I hope I didn't waffle too much then. Here we go. I was on my way to join the army, but the army recruitment centre had been replaced by a raw vegan cafe called Shambhala, meaning City of Heart or Place of Peace, who were very concerned about nutrition and health, which eventually led me down this path of nutrition, homeopathy and health. I then got my diploma in nutrition, then spent 4 years living without social media and lived a financially poor lifestyle. No job, no benefits, just busking, in order to live a life similar to that of a monk for a while. After this, I was accepted into a homeopathic college which expelled me for mentioning the studies of plant-based diets being the healthiest diet for humans, that of the Jainist homeopaths, Hippocrates and the Blue Zone studies, for example. This was deemed offensive to a dairy farming family in the college, and also Islamophobic, although the Quran actually says the less meat, the better the health. I vowed to get This is where I'm at now. I vowed to get a doctorate for the sake of health and truth. After that, I do not care if studies offend the dairy industry, the sugar industry, or the cigarette industry. The cow is not our mother. We're the only animal that smokes, and I am not your sugar daddy. And just added to that, the only other creature that drinks other animals' milk into their adulthood is a certain species of ants, which enslaves another insect and drinks the milk. So, yeah, it's very insect-like. I'd like to acknowledge various physicians. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, the Greek physician existing around the time of Pythagoras, the father of philosophy and mathematician, genius, of whom the College of Naturopathic Medicine based their principal ideas of health and diet on. The Blue Zone diet looks at studies of various cultures in the world, which practically supports the foundations which Hippocrates laid, at least for individuals with a healthy, vital life force. Here's some quotes by the philosophers. To find yourself, think for yourself. Socrates. Opposites are cures for opposites. Hippocrates, father of medicine, on the law of similars. Because the opposite of an opposite. It is like cures like, which is Dr. Samuel Hahnemann's quote. The father of homeopathy. Let food be thy medicine, and let thy medicine be food. Hippocrates. It's far more important to know what person the disease has than what disease the person has. Hippocrates, the father of medicine. And that's a very holistic approach right there. Which is what homeopathy looks like. The soul is the same in all living creatures, although the body of each is different. Hippocrates. So that's supporting the animal rights hypothesis. That Hippocrates promoted a plant-based diet, just like Pythagoras. As long as man, here's a Pythagoras quote, father of philosophy, as long as man continues to be the ruthless destroyer of lower living beings, he will never know health or peace. For as long as men massacre animals, they will kill each other. Indeed, he who sows the seed of murder and pain cannot reap love and joy. So, I mean, in holistics, and especially in homeopathy, they're always talking about how it emphasizes the energy of things. That disease stems from energy. Say sexual disease tends to come from perversion. So if you consume it, just like Pythagoras has said there, if you consume in blood and violence and death and misery, stress and adrenaline, how is that not going to cause disease of the heart, which is the second biggest killer in the West. Natural forces within us are the true healers of disease. Hippocrates. Physicians are many in title, but few in reality. Hippocrates. If you are not, this quote really interests me, if you are not your own doctor, you are a fool. Hippocrates. And that makes me think there's more to healing than just all of these things, really. Everything. The gods created certain kinds of beings to replenish our bodies. They are the trees and the plants and the seeds. Plato, he was a Pythagorean. So it was Pythagoras, Socrates, Plato. They were each other's teachers down the generations. Okay. Let me go on. The entire medical establishment of all sectors take the Hippocratic Oath, but many do not adhere to the dietary foundations of Hippocrates. The medicinal and philosophical fathers, the sheer hypocrisy. Diet is the foundation of health. Many diseases are prevented or reversed with good diet alone. Of course, there are other causes, family related or emotionally caused. However, health must be strived for where it can be in the pursuit of happiness. Diet requirements can vary based on the consumption of vital life force of a man. Some crave vinegar, some crave meat, some crave eggs, some crave sugar. Some cannot consume certain peculiar health foods. So although all the ancient Greek philosophers were strict vegetarians, and many homeopathic books were published by vegetarians, Jane's publishers, for example, it will depend on your constitution and health. It is an achievement if you are if you are dynamically healthy enough to be a strict vegetarian or vegan. But it is quite good to strive for that capability in the first place, to live long, healthy, happy lives, especially if organic and locally sourced. I don't know why I've got such a dry mouth. Reading poetry all night. The Blue Zone diet shows us that every culture that lived longest on average only ate less than 5% of animal products in their overall diets. The strongest example being in Dr. Greger's book, How Not to Die. The Okinawans were amongst the oldest living populations until KFC landed there. Their diet was over 96% plant-based, intensely documented by American occupation after World War II. But their average lifespan was beat by the vegetarian Seventh-day Adventist culture in America. More investigation needs to be done on the mysterious mortality of Jainism, the oldest documented religion in the world. Whom invented ahimsa, non-violence, pacifism, and have always been vegetarians as far as recorded history. There are documentaries of Jains living in the jungles and living off of wild fruit as raw fruitarians, with elderly whom claim to be in their 120s, being their alleged average age. Truth, delirium, hearsay, myth, whatever it is, we may never know, as these people are undocumented, as are many still in random locations throughout the world, because it's for the perhaps it's for the best. Perhaps staying away from celebrity gossip is their true and mysterious health secret. There are people who live long from a strict, happy life of fasting and dietary regimes, yoga, qigong, meditation, etc. And there are people who live a happy life of rum and cigars, who also live a long life. To this, I say there are two factors: luck and happiness. Stress is a killer, and there's no way I could be stressed with an organic cigar in my mouth. But that's not a recommendation. However, imagine how long these lucky-gened people would live if they learn how to live a healthy lifestyle and de-stress healthily at the same time. Mabar Gatto died at 146 years old in 2017. When asked what his secret to longevity was, he took a drag from his cigarette and said, "Relax and take it easy," in his native Indonesian language. Village Blue Zone diet must be accounted for. If you recall from before, Blue Zone diet, the Blue Zone diets were 95% plant-based. That's what I'm saying. So his diet, that's pretty healthy. Just the cigarettes isn't. Of course, when it comes to longevity, you also have mythology throughout all cultures and history that make claims such as Merlin living forever in a Welsh rock, Adam and Eve being 975-year-old vegans, Babaji being an immortal shapeshifter in India, and so forth. If there were any truth to meditating breatharians living for hundreds of years in the mountains, we either simply wouldn't know about it, or it's bollocks. I would like to first give what would initially seem like a relevant credit to the independent animal liberation activist Gary Yourofsky, as his animal rights lectures talks about the cruelty of the pharmaceutical industry's scientifically unnecessary and violent animal experiments called vivisection. Over 54,600 experiments were assessed as severe in the UK in 2022 for scientific experiments alone. The annual statistics publication, that's where it comes from, the annual statistics publication. An importance of a healthy diet. That's talking about Gary Yourofsky now. It's because I've got it in quotations. An importance of a healthy diet, as well as other corruption that goes on in the name of money. This is what initially really opened my eyes at the age 16 to the deceptions that go on right under our nose for profit. This got me interested in studying nutrition and campaigning against vivisection in my teenage years, which is also opposed by groups of allopathic doctors. Allopathic is the conventional medicine in the hospitals, like antibiotics, or the painkillers, chemotherapy, etc. Opposed by groups of allopathic doctors within the medical system, whom I will mention and accredit near the end of the introduction for their evidence and decent work. So this introduction, this is just all my, or most of my compilings of, where I've gotten a lot of my information from over the last 10 years. The next credit along my path would be to Gareth and Steph Shambhala of the Shambhala Cafe in Warrington, where Alice in Wonderland was written, my hometown, for replacing an army recruitment centre when I was 17, because I was going to join the army. Their cafe was full of information plastered on the walls, and on their bookshelf, really tasty raw plant-based foods and raw healthy tasty cakes. I took this as a sign to go in another direction that was previously opened to me by Gary Yourofsky, whom I was led to by my interest in Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin gave a really nice speech in The Great Dictator. Physician Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, the allopathic medical doctor who discovered homeopathic medicine and wrote the Organon, the Bible of homeopathy. The man was a linguist of many languages and was a classical genius, implementing homeopathy in replacement of allopathy for cure and putting dangerous medicines to shame. Now the royal family use homeopathy and live old, except Diana. As do many celebrities, homeopathy is demonized for us peasants by the mainstream media. And allopathic medicine, homeopathy is demonized for its lack of molecular material, when it is a quantum physics or energy based medicine. That would be like judging a CD's musical works through a microscope. The brilliance lies within the physics of it. Dr. Michael Greger, fellow of the American College of Legal Medicine, for his book of studies on how not to die, which directs many diseases back to its core root problem, which is often unhealthy diet, connecting the allopathic medical establishment back to the foundation of which Hippocrates laid: health over tax profits and income. His studies were on nutritionfacts.org. Dr. Ellsworth Warham, a heart surgeon whom stressed the importance of a plant-based diet for heart health, and died at age 104. So he never ate animal products in his life. I'm sure he would have tried them, but he said, he was never into them. He never liked the taste of animal products naturally. So Marcus Rothkranz, the German-born herbalist that lives in Las Vegas and looks at least 30 years younger than his actual age, who promotes the importance of a raw diet, healthy lifestyle, and emotional life in his books, some of which are free, and on his YouTube channel, The Healthy Life. Dr. Schultz, a doctor who escaped from a heart bypass surgery at 16 years old after hearing that the man before him died on the operating table while Schultz was in the waiting room. This led him to run out of the hospital, but also to cure his heart alternatively with herbalism and a raw food plant-based diet. So, most of the best herbalists are raw vegans. They end up making that conclusion. Mainly because of this guy, I believe, Dr. John Christopher, the herbalist that taught Dr. Schultz. Dr. Christopher has passed away now and was one of the most renowned herbalists in America for his teachings and findings. He was a Christian physician who also found that after 30 years of giving treatments, that the Adam and Eve diet was superior for people's health conditions, alongside his herbal treatments, raw plant-based diet. He also kept alive the knowledge that the Bible had a book within it called the Book of Herbs, teaching Christians how to heal their diseases with herbs. The Catholic Church had this book removed from the Bible, however, and also hid some of the original unaltered books, such as the Gospel of the Holy 12 and the Gospel of the Essenes, which claim that Jesus, or Yeshua, his proper name, was a vegan who preached not to kill or eat animals, and was executed partially for losing profit for the Pharisees, whom sold animals from their temples for sacrifice and to eat. And I've got a list here of homeopathic physicians who I write poems based on their materia medicas. So James Tyler Kent, William Borick, John Henry Clark, Cyrus Maxwell Boger, Adolf Zerlip, A.L. Monroe, A.C. Calperthwaite, Edwin A. Neatby, Richard Hughes, I think I've said the names wrong, might not have them. Physician John Rose, for his in-depth lectures and findings on his health protocols. Also another raw foodist that looks fantastic for his age. He most of what he does is with juice fasting, cleaning the bowels of people. He talks a lot about parasites. He puts heavy emphasis. I mean, he has a belief that the serpent, when spirituality talks about the serpent that rises up the spine, he thinks there's also a serpent in the belly, which is basically fecal matter that's stuck to the sides of all the intestines. And once you do a long juice fast or water fast, that tube of black stuck fecal matter eventually comes out and looks like a big long rubber tube or snake. He talks a lot about these sorts of things. He talks about everything. Really interesting guy. College of Naturopathic Medicine. They acknowledge and discuss the Hippocratic lifestyle in some of their nutrition lectures, as well as teaching the various holistic medicines, traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, herbalism, acupuncture, iridology, nutrition, naturopathy, Ayurvedic medicine. I have been to other homeopathic colleges and they fail to uphold and protect the groundworks of the Hippocratic lifestyle. Just like most of the medical establishment, needless to say, I find this least impressive. So in the College of Naturopathic Medicine, they've got some really good teachers if you watch their lectures. Not all of them. Some of them promote eating animals. But I mean, the oldest teachers there are like keto raw vegans. The healthiest looking ones. It lines up with the Hippocratic lifestyle again, and the Pythagoreans and all of them. Physicians Committee of Responsible Medicine. Here's what I was talking about earlier. Although I oppose the use of allopathic medicine, besides certain drugs in emergency circumstances, I adore the PCRM doctors for proving that vivisection is not only a concern for our animal friends, but is also unsafe and unreliable. To expect a drug to behave the same way it would in a human as it would in a rabbit, cat or dog. Hundreds of pharmaceutical drugs are removed from shelves each year for adverse reactions that were not found in various species of animals. Drugs can also react differently amongst different races as well as different families, so to expect a well-rounded result from cutting open a beagle's chest and mimicking a heart attack on them is crazy. Dogs cannot even consume chocolate or onions in high doses, so to expect non-human animals with different heart rates to give us accurate results is a very diseased frame of thought. 15,000 experiments were carried out on specially protected species, such as cats, dogs, horses, and monkeys, in scientific experiments in 2022. There were 2.7 million experiments on animals in British laboratories in 2022. 54,696 experiments were assessed as severe in that same year, UK. 1.2 million experiments were carried out for the creation and breeding of genetically altered animals. So messed up. The annual statistics publication relates to scientific experiments performed using living animals under the Animals Scientific Procedures Act 1986. The alternative is the PCRM promote computerized tests which test reactions on drugs on human DNA, not testing directly on a person but using DNA, which is safer and proven to be more effective by the PCRM's collective studies as well as the Dr. Hadwin Trust. Homeopathic medicine, however, does not do such physical tests, vivisection. Homeopathy's tests are instead called provings and consist of healthy and consenting humans that test the effects of taking unneeded homeopathic medicines to note what symptoms are produced. Like cures like. When too much of a remedy is consumed, especially of an unnecessary remedy, it will present the symptoms which may cause you to take the medicine in the first place. For example, I was taking the remedy belladonna at dose 1 mg once a week for 4 weeks. I had taken much more than I needed and began getting pulsating liquidy headaches in the front of my head. The sensation of too much liquid in the brain. This was approving. Dr. Brian Clement from the Hippocrates Health Institute. Yeah, his talks were really interesting. Clement is another herbalist that looks great for his age and is very sharp with his knowledge, much like Rothkrantz. Dr. Clement wrote the only current book which exposes that 91% of supplements are owned by pharmaceutical companies. How true this is. I worked in a health food supplement shop, and Solga, one of Britain's favourite supplement brands, is owned by Nestle. Pharma Nord was another expensive supplement brand I was told to push, which is full of beef gelatin, discarded animal cartilage, corn oil, which is not healthy, and many other filler ingredients I don't want anywhere near my body, and pushed the truth, however, and I was fired. Actually, I walked out, but whatever. It was... Homeopathy and veganism. With the mention of Jainism, blue zone diets, Hippocrates, animal testing, and animal rights activists, it feels appropriate to briefly discuss whether homeopathy is appropriate to those following the moral principles of veganism because of its animal kingdom remedies. For anybody who doesn't know, vegetarians are those who do not eat flesh foods, which is any animals. No meat, no fish, no insects. Vegetarians who eat fish are called pescatarians, not vegetarians, as fish are not a vegetable, but I suppose neither is cheese. Veganism, on the other hand, is a moral and philosophical belief rather than a type of diet. Those who eat a strict vegetarian diet purely for health, excluding meat, fish, dairy, eggs, insects. Yes, some people out there seem to think that vegans eat insects. These people, however, who do it for health, are not called vegan. Somebody that excludes animal products for health alone is called plant-based. A plant-based diet, or the now less commonly used phrase, strict vegetarian. These are the terms doctors tend to use when purely studying the effects of diet in clinical trials. Veganism, however, is defined as... Veganism is a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible, and practical, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose, and by extension promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefits of animals, humans, and the environment. In dietary terms, it donates the practice of dis- um, dispensing with all products derived wholly or partly from animals. That is the Vegan Society's original definition from 1944. Not original, sorry. That's when the foundation was created, 1944. I think that was the modern definition of what, from the society. Okay, take Cantharis for example. This remedy is made from a dead Spanish fly. How was this fly acquired? Was it murdered? Did it die naturally? Let's presume it was swatted. The fly was potenized in alcohol and continually potenized until there were no cells from the fly left in the alcohol, but only a water memory of the fly. The more it is diluted and potenized, the stronger the remedy. Welcome to the wacky world of quantum physics. Thus, one fly was responsible for an endless amount of remedies. However, they've learned how to match the Spanish fly's water memory, or quantum blueprint, and every other animal's remedies, milk remedies, insect remedies, etc., with the use of frequency machines. Thus, homeopathy, providing that it has been acquired in this way, is completely vegan by definition. Homeopathic brands like Veleda like to use lactose from dairy for some reason, which isn't good for the lactose intolerant either. But most other homeopathic brands, such as Helios, put their remedies on sucrose instead of dairy. Schussler Tissue Salts also uses dairy lactose in their products, but also sells the 12 essential tissue salts as a spray in alcohol, which is confirmed vegan. Animal tests. With animal testing, homeopathy has never done vivisection, the live cuttings of animals, live dissection on living animals, and doesn't do animal testing whatsoever, instead using consenting men and women. Homeopathy can easily be made vegan with a few tweaks. Ensure your homeopath is getting their remedy from a frequency machine. If the remedy is not sourced from a plant, fungi, mineral, or metal, ensure your homeopath isn't giving you lactose pills. And although the quantum blueprint or water memory from a frequency machine is vegan by definition, because no animal was used, just a frequency matching the animal, and although the water memory from a frequency machine is vegan by definition, make sure to tell your homeopath if you do not particularly want to consume the water memory of a slug or whatever creature's bodily fluid it may be. That's just me being a bit facetious, because yeah, that's the end of the introduction. And then it goes on to my poems, which I'll do in lots of separate videos. Thanks for listening. I hope that was interesting. Yeah, and let me know what you think.